So, guys, I want to do another tough video, and I want to talk about the time that I went to a sketchy dentist. And what happened was that I used to I used to like work both for the state of Connecticut. And I used to have like a federal job, federal benefits and stuff like that. Because when you have like those types of jobs, they give you a really really good insurance rate. So that way, if you go to a doctor or a dentist or optometrist or other things, usually a lot of it gets covered. Or I remember like when I went to saw a therapist, I think it was like over $100 an hour. Like, I think it was 150 an hour, but it was down to $15 because I had really good insurance. If you need help any type of way, it's important to get that, but it's also important to understand that you're luckier than most if you can get things for a good insurance rate. But what happened was when I went to this therapist, no, when I went to this dentist, is that they were saying something like, I had to get some cavities. It was like two or three teeth, and they said that was like $300 for it all together, really. And then after they did my cleaning and everything like that, they actually said, "Oh, we need to do your cavities." And I was actually busy that day. And what they said was that they changed it to like actually $300 per tooth. And then another thing happened was that I need one of my wisdom teeth taken out, and they were kind of doing something like a lot of intimidation. Like they were saying something like, "Okay, can you do it today? Can you do it today?" And they're kind of like looking at me with like very like anxious looks and saying, "Yes, let's do it today. Yes, let's do it today." Really, like a lot of just, or it needs to come out. It will come out. It needs to come out. It will come out. And like a lot of other like just really really big intimidation things. And the dentist that I saw, he kind of had a reputation for being disrespectful or loud or condescending and whatever. And I remember like talking to somebody else, and and saying, I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna get my tooth out. And he's like, "It will come out." And then he looked at me like, and other things like that. And I wanted to like actually get up and punch him in the fucking face, ruin his fucking teeth, because it kind of goes down to what I was saying in another video where I had mental health issues, and people are like, "Oh well, Byron's like is a sweet black little boy, or maybe he's autistic or socially awkward. I can yell at a grown man any way that I want to, really, because I can. Some people are naturally bullies, but some people are naturally like, okay, you know what? And some people even do that too, where like, they're loud, they're rude, but everybody's like, oh, because I remember like other people and I remember his other staff members are all kind of smiling and grinning when that happened, because they're kind of like a little accustomed to him talking like that. And it's like, as I said, but sometimes, and I hate saying this, that sometimes you see videos of people, when people are shout at like that. You see other people who they're shouting at whoop their asses, really. And sometimes, in prison that happens, really, because it's all about respect, and it's also about standing your business, really, because like, again, I was like in my mid-20s at that point. So it's almost like, somebody who's like maybe in their 40s is shouting at me like I'm a little kid, or shouting at me like I was a little kid, whipping out my dick and peeing in the sink, really, or sexually harassing one of the dental staff. Like there's a certain time when you should shout at people when they're adults, and there's certain times when you shouldn't, really. But that was completely like inappropriate. Another thing that happened was that there was another nurse that was a male, and he would like feel my jowls like that, and when he was doing that, he'd be like, like, I wanted to punch him in the face as well. Like, what the fuck is that, real? Like, I know like, was it like taunting or whatever, really? Like, because I remember like me and my brothers were both diagnosed with autism. And I found out later, by another therapist, it was a misdiagnosis. But again, if I ever did that, my dad would have whacked me across the head, and smacked me hard as he could, really, to be like, "Hey, snap out of it. We're not having these mental episodes." Because my father was really big about, about presentation, really. And if you wanted to act like, like you're having some psychiatric issues, if you're old and have Alzheimer's, that's one thing. But in general, if you're doing that for just fuckery, there's consequences for that, really. But I remember, like, again, I never went back to that dentist. And then the other thing too was that I remember on my birthday they called me and said happy birthday, and I was like, saying I had to send them a text message saying, "Don't you ever call me. I had a bad experience, and if you call this number again, I'm gonna call the cops, really, for harassment." And I remember them trying to reach out to me and other things like that. But ultimately, too, I did the right thing, really, because obviously, what the fuck is that, really? When somebody says it's $300 for cavity fixing, then they say $300 per tooth, really. So one goes from like $300 to like $900 or $1,200. When they're talking about removing your wisdom teeth, and I still have my wisdom teeth with me, and I'm 38 years old. But this was like over 10 years ago. And the other part of it as well is stuff like that where they're using intimidation, or they're using like walking up to people, or sometimes when you're sitting in a dental chair, they'll walk up close to you because you're on a, like, they're standing higher than you because you're leaning back in the chair, or somebody throwing your voice at you. And it's kind of like, what I talked about in my other video where I was talking about Geronimo's, or when I was at Southern and I had a staff member, be kicking my office door. There are times where people think that they can bully other people. There are times when people may get away with it a lot through their lives, really, and then also too, eventually there's a day where people check them or they never get checked, really. But I did the right thing. Again, I left them bad reviews. Again, I said, don't ever fucking call me again. Don't even do that fucking cute thing where you call me around the holidays, or you fucking call me on my fucking birthday. You disrespected me, and I want nothing to fucking do with you. And that's right, because again, you're gonna trust somebody with your life. You're gonna trust somebody with like over $1,000. You're gonna trust somebody with a surgery. You're gonna trust somebody with saying, "Hey, there's something wrong here," and you don't know, because a lot of like cavities and their inspections are with microscopic cameras, really. So they could easily be lying or whatever, really. Or they'd be like, "Hey, you know what? You got state insurance. Oh, we're going to charge you up the ass, really, because we know that we're gonna get money. You may be paying like $50, but we also know that the state's paying us like a few thousand at a time, really. There's people who do that, so that's that, really. So it's unfortunate, but that happened, really. But you stand on business, and I stand on business the right way, which is I reported that, and I said I want nothing to fucking do with you because you're not going to disrespect me like that.